U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan's visit to Beijing at the end of August was quite eventful. Despite coming with sincerity, he left with only a vague statement that Biden and Xi might have a phone call in the next few weeks. There was no substantial agreement on economic or national security matters, but both sides' views have been exchanged. When Sullivan emphasized that U.S. arm deals to Taiwan are in line with the U.S.'s One China policy, it seemed more like a showdown. America will continue to act according to its plan. The underlying message was clear: Xi Jinping has no intention of backing down in the first island chain. What did Sullivan's visit achieve? If there's any highlight, it might be that tensions in the Taiwan Strait could temporarily ease while Biden is in office. However, once Biden's term ends, the future remains uncertain. On this point, it's important to mention General Michael Minion, known for his bravery. In January 2023, this general accidentally revealed key information in a memo, the possibility of a U.S.-China war in 2025. Though this was supposed to be a military secret, it unexpectedly spread on social media, sparking widespread public debate. The top military leaders were understandably unhappy, and the general received a harsh warning. Despite this, the time bomb still raises doubts around the world. Will there really be a conflict in the first island chain in 2025? The information leaked by General Minion wasn't a surprise to the Biden administration. Last year, several envoys were sent to China, but progress was minimal. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, made its position clear: Taiwan must be reclaimed, so prepare for war. Biden also knew that if a conflict broke out in the Taiwan Strait, Japan and South Korea couldn't stay out of it. So, starting last spring and summer, he worked to bring these historical rivals together, forming a small alliance. This alliance is like the early stages of a military coalition for a potential conflict in the Taiwan Strait. A summit was held at Camp David with the U.S., Japan, and South Korea. If a war breaks out, Japan and South Korea will inevitably be involved, so their participation in the summit was crucial. One key agreement from the summit was that no matter who becomes president in the future, they must meet annually for this alliance. The meaning is clear. Around the same time that the U.S.-Japan-South Korea alliance was forming, Biden made another significant statement. He directly said that the CCP's economy might be a time bomb ready to explode any moment. This statement caused a strong reaction in global financial markets, with investors nearly selling off their stocks. It was clear that they understood the growing risk in the Taiwan Strait. Major media outlets like NBC, Reuters, Bloomberg, and the South China Morning Post quickly reported on his remarks. The conflict between Israel and Hamas broke out last October, further highlighting the growing divide between different camps and pushing the Biden administration's anxiety to a peak. In a primetime speech, Biden defended U.S. wartime aid to Israel and Ukraine. He even referenced the World War II concept of the arsenal of democracy. It's clear that the Biden administration's repeated requests for funds from Congress are in preparation for a potential large-scale conflict. After all, the first step in any major war is securing funding. This statement was widely reported by global mainstream media. The White House also provided the full speech, further emphasizing the seriousness and urgency of the situation. The current U.S.-China relationship has several similarities to the U.S.-Japan relationship before World War II. In July 1940, the U.S. imposed an embargo on iron and oil against Japan, leading to a sharp decline in relations. The U.S. not only froze Japanese assets, but also joined forces with Britain, the Netherlands, and China to form the ABCD encirclement of Japan. Today, the U.S. high-tech ban on China is almost a modern version of that embargo. In the area of semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and quantum technology, the U.S. not only prohibits exports to China, but also seeks a complete decoupling. This isn't just economic sanctions, it's a direct challenge to China's national security. The ban immediately brought U.S.-China relations to a new low, and everyone knows this isn't just a simple trade issue. It's a significant move that could shape the future of global relations. The ban has forced U.S. allies to cooperate reluctantly, even though they know it's a costly move. However, as allies, they can't defy the will of the U.S. This series of actions clearly shows Biden's attempt to secure America's position and ensure its safety in the upcoming global challenges. Unlike the eager war preparations by the U.S. military, the Biden administration, after learning that the CCP might take action in 2025, scrambled to find the right envoys to persuade Xi Jinping to abandon the idea. The logic was clear. If they could convince Xi, they might prevent a global disaster. Everyone knows that the CCP is the biggest financial backer among the countries in the axis of evil, and without its support, starting a third world war would be nearly impossible. Within the CCP, Xi Jinping is the most hardline and pro-war figure. In response, the U.S. sent in high-profile envoys. The Biden administration knew that the Taiwan issue is highly sensitive for the CCP, so it's nearly impossible for them to openly promise to avoid war. The U.S. secretly sent the CIA director to Beijing, hoping to reach an understanding. However, these efforts failed. Both public and private attempts to persuade Xi Jinping went nowhere. One outcome of these efforts was that Xi found out Chinese former minister Qin Gang might have leaked the timing of the potential conflict, which led to a swift removal. Another consequence was the deep frustration of the Biden administration, followed by global financial turmoil. Gold prices surged. U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen hurried to visit China. Japan and U.S. leaders held urgent talks, and even Elon Musk met with Xi Jinping. These events all happened after the Biden administration's failed efforts to change Xi's mind. The sudden dismissals of Foreign Minister Qin Gang and National Defense Minister Li Shangfu were officially cited as due to corruption and improper conduct. Qin Gang likely faced more than just personal issues. His removal reflects significant internal divisions within the CCP over U.S. relations and the Taiwan Strait conflict. If Qin Gang disagreed with Xi on key issues, his fate was sealed. Li Shangfu's situation was even more suspicious. As a top military official, he was crucial in preparing for a Taiwan Strait conflict. However, at the Shangri-La dialogue, he said that if a severe conflict between China and the U.S. occurs, it would be an unbearable pain for the world. This likely didn't sit well with Xi. The Taiwan issue demands a tough stance, and Li's appeasement remarks were clearly out of line. So, Li Shangfu's removal wasn't surprising. Whether due to his out-of-line stance on Taiwan or potentially leaking sensitive information, Xi Jinping clearly no longer wanted him around. The dismissal of these two officials shows that the CCP won't tolerate any disagreements on critical issues, especially regarding the Taiwan Strait conflict. For the CCP, the Taiwan Strait conflict is an issue of unquestionable political correctness. No one dares to openly challenge it. However, the party elders are not eager to become cannon fodder in this war. Despite China's economic difficulties, their comfortable retirement remains secure. But if war erupts in the Taiwan Strait, it's not just about sacrificing luxuries, it's about risking their lives and wealth. Thus, they found the perfect excuse. China's economy can't support an attack on Taiwan. This internal conflict made an impact. In November last year, U.S. and Chinese leaders finally met. Facing pressure from all sides, Xi Jinping made some compromises, stating that there were no plans to attack Taiwan by 2027. This eased the tension slightly in the Taiwan Strait. At this point, some might say that while the analysis is detailed, neither side has officially mentioned a war over the Taiwan Strait. But recall last November, on what was supposed to be a peace-seeking trip to the U.S., Xi Jinping directly told Biden that Taiwan must be reclaimed. This statement shattered any hopes of easing tensions or resolving misunderstandings. Xi effectively broke the ice himself, making it clear that reclaiming Taiwan is not just rhetoric, it's a serious commitment. So, was this visit really about peace, or was it more of a warning? Xi did leave some room for negotiation, saying that the timing for military action wasn't set and that they would try peaceful methods first. Yet, despite this, those hoping for peace were left stunned, with no way to rationalize it. Some people started blaming the American media, suggesting they might have misinterpreted Xi's words. These people implied that it wasn't just the timing that was undecided, but whether to go to war at all. Other media outlets quickly asked the CCP's Minister of Foreign Affairs for clarification. The ministry's response was in the typical aggressive diplomacy style, with no attempt to clarify or soften the message. This made it clear to everyone that the intent to attack Taiwan was real. Qin Gang's abrupt dismissal just before this was likely connected to it. If the ministry had tried to explain, it would have been dangerous. The Biden administration went through a similar process last year, and they seem more experienced this time. They decided to approach it from an economic angle, sending Janet Yellen to try to persuade Xi Jinping, but unsurprisingly, the attempt failed. Xi has been willing to meet with the wave of U.S. envoys, but he's firmly sticking to his plan. His stance is unyielding, showing confidence in his strategy. The U.S. is starting to accept the reality and prepare for the worst-case scenario. Take a look at this photo of Jake Sullivan. His expression seems to reveal a sense of certainty about war, a look of resigned misery, as if he knows something that others don't. If the U.S.-China tension continues like this, it may lead to the outcome everyone fears. Xi's message seems to be that he himself holds the advantage, the plan is set, and everything is under control. This outward confidence might hide an underlying worry that if war starts, it will be a tough battle. This is like the situation before the Ukraine war, where Macron visited Putin. Macron looked desperate, while Putin seemed confident, thinking everything was under control. We now know things didn't go smoothly as Putin had expected. As for Trump, if he were to become president, his approach might be very different from Biden's. Trump would likely focus more on economic sanctions and other non-military methods to contain China. His style would involve using economic pressure to push China into a weaker position. His foreign policy could be more practical, avoiding direct military conflict and instead focusing on sanctions, pressure, and negotiations to solve issues. Although different from Biden's approach, Trump's strategy would still aim to protect U.S. interests.